welcome back to the show. It's 10:23 on a Friday. Dan Scott here with you on Facebook Live on Campus Radio 95.9 FM and maybe 2 or 3 other places that we don't tell you about. Anyway, good to have you with us. A little basketball talk in the first segment, and we're going to switch gears and talk some Furman football now with head strength and conditioning coach and our longtime friend David Abernethy, who is joining us here. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Busy time for you. There's really not a unbusy time in the world of strength and conditioning, is there?
Never stops. Never stops. Sometimes, you're going full speed, then you can hit the clutch a little bit and you got to hit the gas again.
Right now, the team is going through spring practice. So what's your role now? How much work are they actually doing in the weight room while spring practice is going on?
Well, we're still working. We're trying to still build our guys, So we're still going at least 2 times a week, if not 3 times a week in the weight room, about an hour and 10 minutes, and they're trying to get them in and get them out. They got meetings, they got practice. So we got to make sure we work on them and keep them going, but at the same time, where they can come out and be excited and fresh and hitting it hard when they get out here. Yeah,
and of course, it's not just football. It's every sport, every athlete here.
Exactly. It's every sport is that way. It's year-round. If you stop, you're behind. You can't stop anymore. You got to learn to stack the days. Consistency, what makes it happen. It's not any special program. It's just consistent, great effort every day, every week, day in, day out.
You've been doing this for a while. Do you remember a time when there was a quote unquote off season, or have you always been in it's a year round mode?
Well, I played in the mid 90s, and guys would go home first summer session and come back summer session number 2. Mm-hmm. A lot of schools did that. Then it progressed to where they got both sessions when I was in grad school at Clemson. And so we're going both sessions. Guys were getting 8 to 10 weeks. And now the NCAA allows us to have 8 weeks in the summertime with athletes. So you got 9 to get 8 in. So you have a little time in there to, if you need to take a break in between, you can. But you got 9 to get 8 in. And so that's where we are now. And it's year round. You got, depends on when you do spring practice. You got 5 to 8 weeks of pre-spring practice. And then you're training during spring practice. And then you transition out of exams back into training again. Mm-hmm. Getting ready for camp.
Yeah, it's much like everything else with being a Division I athlete and a coach of any kind as a Division I athlete, time management becomes as important as anything else you do.
It does. I mean, you got to stay on top of it. You got to have a schedule. And when guys can get in a routine, and again, the big part is consistency. That's what we're looking for. If it's not, you can't have one good day and then 2 bad days. Mm-hmm. Or you can't have 2 good days and 1 bad day because you're getting a deficit. And when guys get in a deficit, it's hard to stack days. It's hard to save money when you're not putting money in the bank.
You had a pro day here. Furman hosted a pro day here on Monday that you were kind of in charge of. Just tell us a little bit about that. The pro day at Clemson obviously gets a lot of attention. I was joking with someone over there yesterday. There's probably more media members than there were actual guys going through the pro day workout. And it's like that at the big schools. But schools like Furman host them as well. How many players do we have here? Any names people will recognize? Just kind of take us through it.
Yeah, through the history I've been here, the biggest year we had was Dakota Dozier. When Dakota came out, we had 20-plus scouts because he's a draftable guy. The guys we've had here in the past few years are good players, more free agent type players. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you don't get as many scouts out because, there's the demand for them. So what we're trying to do is set it up, so a pro day, we get the scouts here, get a look at our guys, and give them a chance to get to that next level. And this past Monday we did the same thing. And what we did, we actually invited, try to attract more scouts to come, we invited a few other schools like Coastal Carolina, Wofford, Gardner-Webb, and Presbyterian. Mm-hmm. And they had a few guys from each school come out and work with our guys. And so the hope in that was to make it easier on the scouts, but also to make it attractive where they want to come and watch our guys and to give our guys an advantage. The more scouts, the better. And so we had Trey Robinson, we had Richard Hayes, we had Jamari Milliken, we had Thomas Brown, and Andre Suttles were our guys that came out.
Anybody who stood out?
Well, I know what those guys can do, and they have been working, so it was pretty consistent in what they had done for me in the past. Probably the guy that, in my opinion, that has the best numbers would be Trey Robinson. For me, at one time, he could broad jump around 11 feet, which is pretty impressive. He started, I think 9'9", and worked his way up to that. He gained, I think he gained about 10, 15 pounds since he was here. He started at 225. I talked to him. He did 14 on pro day. He did 5 when he got here. And so he improved himself, and that's what it's all about. It's my job, is to improve guys, make guys better.
Any sense from watching the workout and with the scouts being there, did they, since we're talking about Trey, who was such a great player here, did they see things they liked? Do you get a chance he's going to get an opportunity to play somewhere?
Well, you don't know what they're thinking. I mean, they're kind of vanilla with the way they talk to you. They want to hold their cards tight. And so, I mean, they tell me good things. He looks good. He's got a good body type. He's long. He's rangy. They like his explosiveness. They can always critique him and find what's wrong. But I always try to let them do that and not me tell them, because I work them for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
I know everything about them.
Right.
But I want them to find out. I want to give them all the positives, all the things that I like about them. That I like about Trey, or I like about Jamari or Thomas or any of those guys.
This is David Abernethy, who's the strength and conditioning coach here at Furman. Didn't you also have a clinic of some kind that was going on the same day? We
did. Here we started an Iron Horseman Club, which is a fundraiser for our program. We try to, when I first got here, the biggest thing, who was before me, Coach Sisk, he went to Georgia Tech, and I said, what's the biggest thing we need here? And he said nutrition. And so that was our main focus when I came, is try to improve the nutrition of the guys, because you cannot train a bad diet. If the guys don't take care of themselves, you cannot train that. Whether they eat too much or eat too little, you cannot train it. So we started investing, and we got Gatorade shakes, and we'd buy apples, oranges, bananas, bagels, peanut butter. And then, as we came on, Ingles jumped on board with us with the stadium and stuff, the naming stuff. And so we worked along with them, and now we just go there and we load up big time at Ingles, chocolate milk, the nines, and we load up in there so they can leave the weight room with 1,000 healthy calories when they get done training in the weight room. And so that was the reason we did it for the Iron Horseman Club, to raise money for that, to help our athletes, all our athletes, not just football.
Right.
But we had that clinic. We invited, all the coaches out of Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, and South Carolina.
High school coaches.
High school coaches. And there was college coaches here, too. There was a assistant strength coach from Duke. The former head strength coach at Tennessee Volunteers, Dave Lawson, was here. And so we had Adam Smotherman from Clemson. Smo, he was assistant for me here. He came and spoke, did an awesome job. Ben Souders from Georgia Tech came up and spoke. He played for me at Western Kentucky. And he's been at Alabama. He's been at Southern Miss. And so he spoke about their program and where he stopped and what he's learned at those different places. Then we had Coach Quarles talk and tell his high school stories and motivation. He did an awesome job. And then we had the big boss man, Sam White, came and finished it out with his wisdom. And it was just a great day. Had a lot of positive feedback from the coaches. And the good thing is we had a chance to raise a little bit of money for our program. We got high school coaches on campus that were the places we're trying to, find kids. And so it got them excited, got to see our campus, got to be in our building. It was a lot of positives that came out of it.
That's great. So Monday was a busy day amongst everything else you've got going on, and I think today's spring practice session, in fact, was an early morning practice, right?
It was. It's been, we've had this pretty weather for a month now. Then this week the snow comes and it's cold. It's really cold. It's that West Virginia cold. It's real cold. So.
But you're working regardless.
Oh yeah. I mean, you never know where you got to go play in the playoffs. We have to go to Montana and play in the playoffs. You got to be ready. Have that mindset and. We need a little adversity. I like it. It makes our guys better. So,
from your standpoint, do you like what you're seeing out of this team in spring practice so far?
Yeah, I love it. I love our tempo. Just looking at our tempo at practice, I mean, guys are flying around. As they're starting to learn it, they're getting faster and faster. And I'm like, man, our guys just keep getting faster. And it excites me because it really shows the work they put in these past 8 weeks. It really shows their talent. It showcases them. And so when you see the offense fly around, I see those wide receivers sprinting downfield and those DBs flying around. It makes both sides better when we practice faster. And so the games ought to be easy.
I mentioned this earlier. When any coach takes over a program, depending on his style, he wants his players to be conditioned and shaped a certain way. Some coaches like, big physical linemen. Some coaches like linemen who are maybe not quite as big, but they're faster and more agile. And it's your job to take what the coach tells you and then turn those kids into what he wants. What did Clay Hendricks tell you that he wanted, and speaking specifically about the offensive line, what did he tell you he wanted in his offensive lineman, and how, if at all, did that change how you were training them in the past?
Well, we train heavy in the weight room to get strong. We train fast to get explosive. So in order to become more powerful, you got to take speed and strength and combine those together.
Right.
But what we've done with our linemen is we've knocked about 10 to 15 pounds off several of the kids just to lean them up. You know, Matt Schmitzlinger, he's around 280. At one time, he was about 300 pounds during the season last year. Bush is dropping weight. He's about 10 pounds lighter. Reed Krober, who was a redshirt freshman last year, he came in at 299 pounds. Now he's 280. And he's got projected to probably be a good player, maybe a starter for us. And so those guys lean up, and the way they fire off the ball, it's exciting. I mean, just to stick a foot in the ground and get upfield, that's what he wants. He wants that quickness. He wants that pop. It's one thing to be strong. It's another thing to be fast, and it's the total thing to be powerful. You take those two combinations of fast and strong, you become powerful, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
So he wanted to lean them up a little bit and to increase the speed.
Yeah, he did, and he still does. And he wants to maintain that and keep building on that leanness. He wants them strong. He wants them lean and fast and quick and explosive.
And I think that's a good point, because I think a lot of people who are listening when they or watching when they think of offensive linemen, that they equate big. The bigger you are, the stronger you are. And how's a 280-pound lineman going to be able to handle a 320-pound nose tackle or something like that? But the inertia of the whole thing actually works if everything comes together correctly.
Well, all those guys are working as one, and you get all those 5 bullets working together, and they come off faster than those other 5 or 3 or 4 bullets on the other side, and they strike first. Then they took the first punch, and then all they got to do is keep driving their feet and in position and angle and leverage, and they can get the job done. So I'm excited about it. Our guys are excited. Our linemen believe in it. Our skill guys are fired up. Our perimeter guys, they're just flying around, and it's just an exciting time. They're very confident. They're very optimistic. That's what the players like. They like the optimistic. They like the hope of the opportunity just to really score a lot of points.
Yeah. So if coach tells you, all right, this particular kid, between now and the time fall practice starts, I want you to get 20 pounds off of him. You still got to obviously feed him. Nutrition has to be right, along with the working out. So how do you go about that? What's the process?
Well, the first thing is to say we set a goal. You got to set a standard. This is where a coach wants you to be.
Without sacrificing strength, by the way.
Yeah, without sacrificing his strength. So the first thing we want to do is look at his diet and look at his habits and get him on a routine. All right, and we've been doing that for years here now, but really just tighten it up and make sure that he's being consistent with his diet. That's where it all starts. And then, if we need to burn more calories, we got to do more cardio, but we also got to do our training too. At the same time. So we want to make sure we don't overtrain the kid so we don't get him hurt. But at the same time, he's got to burn more calories. He's got to keep getting stronger. So just stacking all those different methods together, and it'll work. We did it at Clemson. We did it when I was at Ole Miss. We did it when I was at Western Kentucky. We had at Clemson one time, we had a kid who was 400 pounds. We had to get down, and he got down over time. It's a process. Yeah. So you just got to work at it, and be consistent.
Speaking of Ole Miss, I was there this past weekend for the baseball series, and I think the term that I use to describe their facilities is they're just spending stupid money.
Oh yeah, yeah, they are.
They really are. It's incredible for a school. You know, people give Starkville, Mississippi State, call it Stark Vegas because
Right.
it sits in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Oxford's the same way.
It
People
is.
don't talk about Oxford that way, but it's the same way. Sits in the middle of nowhere, and man, they're spending money hand over fist on facilities down there.
Yeah, they are, and they've got the money to.
Yeah, yes, they do.
They've
Absolutely.
got the money to do it.
David Abernethy, the strength and conditioning coach here at Furman, joining us. Before we let you go, just what's the difference from your standpoint in training a male athlete versus a female athlete?
Well, they're both athletes, and so that's what we're looking at first.
Mm-hmm.
They all have to bend, they all have to jump, they all have to run, they all have to be mobile. So how do we make, in most sports they're using their hands, their hips, and their feet. How do we make that better? And so there's not a difference in an athletic standpoint, but they are different genders. So they have a different hormone system that works.
Physiological makeup.
Physiological makeup and everything. So we coach both sides hard. We coach them both hard, but at the same time, we understand our limitations. It's like different athletes. Some you can coach with salt, some you got to coach with sugar. But female athletes, they work hard now. I mean, you can give a program to a female athlete, and if you stepped away and give the same program to a male athlete, she would outwork them. A male athlete is used to being coached hard and pushed and doing this, but a female will take it and just go with it and run with it and do a great job. That's been my experience in the past. So really, you don't coach them different because they're athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at them as athletes first.
Yeah. It's a good answer. And of course, that's why you're here. You're supposed to give good answers.
Yeah.
So what's next as far as your schedule goes? And of course, you and your staff, as we mentioned, you're training everybody year round. But since we're kind of focusing just on football now, spring practice is going to go on for a couple more weeks.
It is.
And then after that, how often will the guys be in the weight room?
Well, so we've got this week. Next week is our so-called spring game, the 25th. Mm-hmm. Then we'll have 3 days after that with football practice. And then I think we have 3 weeks before exams start. We have to give them a week off before exams. NCAA rule sets that if you're out of season, you have to give them a week off. So I think we're going to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the weight room. Tuesday, Thursday, we'll do some type of speed work, linear speed, lateral speed, multi-directional speed, plyometrics, footwork, quickness, SAQ, speed, agility, quickness on those Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'll stack those 3 weeks, and then they'll go home, or they'll take exams. They'll go home for about a week or so. Then they'll come back. We'll start back May the 10th when Maymester starts. And so we'll start our clock, and we'll count 8 weeks that we get in the summertime. And I think we end up July 7th that we can actually say this is our time. We're going to train. You got 8 full weeks. And then we'll have 3 weeks left before we come to camp. And then so there's still about 20, 30, 40 guys that stay in that little 3-week July session. But we'll have the whole team here, especially in June. Mm-hmm. But most of them will be here in May as well. So it doesn't stop. I mean, it just keeps going.
So in those 3 weeks, then, do they have to work out on their own?
Yeah, if they go home, they do. But if they're here, they work with me.
And so you're still allowed to work with them outside of that 8 weeks?
I can't mandate it. It's a voluntary deal. It's a voluntary deal. So inside that 8 weeks, we can mandate it. But outside of that, it's a voluntary.
I got you. Well, listen, keep up the good work. I know that there's a lot of excitement surrounding this football program, and I thought it would be good for folks to get an opportunity to kind of go inside an area that they don't really think of until the team starts getting blown off the ball a lot. Man, let's fire that strength and conditioning coach.
Oh, I know.
Hey, guys, I just laughed. I got to tell you this because I know that you worked with Joey over at Clemson and under Joey, and I just remember in the first 2 or 3 years of Dabo Sweeney's tenure over there as they're recranking that engine, and their fans are always that lunatic fringe, always looking for a scapegoat, always looking for a scapegoat. And after they had gone through, the offensive coordinator days of Rob Spence, and they'd gone through defensive coordinator here, the next target was Joey Batson. Hey, are we strong enough? Are we fast enough? What's this guy doing? Should we change strength and conditioning coaches? And then they start pummeling people and playing for national championships and winning national championships. And I'm thinking where and obviously far better conditioned than their opponents as the season goes on. And I'm thinking, where are the critics now?
I know. Well, you know, he's my mentor. He got me in the business, and he means so much to me. I mean, when that was going on, he just put his head down, went to work, and was consistent. And that's the thing. That's what impresses me most about him. He never quit. When people were challenging him the most, he just dug his foot in the ground, put his knuckles in the ground, got in a 4-point stance, and went to work, and set a great example for all strength coaches, and just especially me, because he's my mentor. He's the Paul in my life, you know, and so he's just a huge mentor to me, and I think the world of him. You know, he's family, and and he's raised so many strength coaches that are out there in the country right now, and the guys that have come through me by him, and so I think a lot of him. He's a great man.
Well, I know that the results speak for themselves, and I just have a feeling that we're heading in that direction here.
We are.
And I can't wait to see what this next season and the immediate future is going to bring. David, thank you, man.
Thank you.
That's David Abernethy. When we come back, we're going to go to the phones and talk to Brett Harker. We'll get a preview of the baseball series with North Carolina A&T that starts tonight at Latham Stadium at 6 o'clock. And we'll do that right after this. Don't go away.
When you go in search of a fence company, what's your criteria?